The icy wind howled as Emma trudged through the blinding snow, her threadbare coat barely shielding her from a cold. Then a faint cry, weak, desperate, she stumbled. Upon a shivering boy, barely conscious, unaware of his origins, she carried him home, but fate had plans. Beyond her imagination, it was a bone-chilling winter evening when Emma Harris, a single mother of two, found herself walking home after a long shift at the diner. The snowstorm had been relentless all afternoon, and the wind whipped through the streets of the small town, making everything seem colder than it was. The streets, usually bustling with the evening crowd, were eerily quiet, and Emma's breath came out in clouds of fog as she hugged her coat tighter around her body. She hadn't expected the storm to be this bad. The weatherman's forecast had been wrong. As usual, her mind raced, thinking of her two kids sitting alone in their tiny apartment, waiting for her at home. Emma's thoughts were interrupted when she heard faint cries coming from an alley up ahead. Without hesitation, Emma rushed to the source of the noise there. Lying in the snow was a young boy no older than 8 or 9, his clothes soaked through and his face pale from the cold. His small body trembled uncontrollably as he clutched his chest. "Hey, are you okay?" Emma called out. Her voice tinged with panic. The boy's eyes flickered up at her, wide with fear. I can't find my dad. I'm lost." He stammered, his voice barely audible over the howling wind. Emma didn't think twice. She pulled him into her arms, wrapping her coat around him as best as she could. "Come on, we need to get you to safety," with the boy in her arms. Emma trudged through the snow, her legs aching, her heart racing. She wasn't sure where she was going, but she knew she couldn't leave him out here to freeze. Minutes later, they reached the warmth of a nearby shelter, the local community center that was open for anyone. Stranded by the storm, inside the boy warmed up quickly with a cup of hot cocoa, still shivering, but now out of danger. Emma sat beside him, her mind racing. Was a little boy doing out here alone in this kind of weather? "What's your name?" Emma asked, trying to comfort him. "Oliver," the boy replied quietly, his eyes still clouded with confusion and fear. "All right, Oliver, we're going to get you home. Where do you live?" "I don't know where I am." Oliver's voice trembled. "My dad was driving, and in the snow it was too much." Emma glanced around the room. She didn't have the resources to take him home herself, but she couldn't leave him with just anyone. She made a mental note to call the local authorities as soon as possible. But then a well-dressed man, who had been quietly observing from the corner of the room, stood up. Oliver. The man's voice was shaking with relief, but also filled with concern. "Where's your father? We've been looking for you everywhere." Oliver's face lit up at the sound of the man's voice. "Dad!" he cried, running toward him. Emma watched as the man wrapped his arms around the boy, relieved but also visibly shaken. The man turned to Emma, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, you saved my son," he said, his voice sincere. "I'm Adam Kingsley." Emma's heart skipped a beat at the name Kingsley. She knew that name. The Kingsleys were one of the wealthiest families in the region, known for their fortune and influence. She had read about Adam Kingsley's business empire in the local paper more than once. "Don't mention it," Emma replied, feeling a little embarrassed. She hadn't expected to find someone like him in this kind of situation. Adam smiled softly, but Emma could see the weight of worry in his eyes. "We've been trying to locate him since he wandered off. I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't found him." Emma's hands fidgeted nervously. "It was nothing. I was just in the right place at the right time." Adam studied her for a moment before asking, "Can I at least offer you something for your troubles? A thank you, at the very least." Emma's thoughts immediately returned to her children. At home, the bills were piling up, and she barely made meet at the diner. Still, she was proud and didn't want to accept charity. "Really, I'm fine, just happy. He's safe." But Adam wasn't letting her off that easily. "I insist. come by the office tomorrow. I'll have my assistant arrange something for you." Before Emma could protest, Adam reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card. "If you change your mind, call me. I'll make sure you're taken care of the next day." After a sleepless night of contemplating what had happened, Emma found herself standing outside a sleek office building downtown. She had hesitated 100 times before dialing Adam Kingsley's number, but when the assistant insisted she'd come in, she felt a strange sense of obligation. Inside, Adam greeted her warmly, though he was clearly a man used to making big decisions after a few moments of small talk. Adam got straight to the point. "I want to make sure you're okay," he said, "and that you're not struggling anymore." Emma shifted uneasily. "I don't need charity, I just wanted to help your son." That's all, but Adam wasn't backing down. "I know, but I believe in paying it for, and you salve my son. That's not something I can just forget." The conversation continued with Adam, offering Emma a job at his company, a role that would pay far more than her current position of the diner. He also offered to help with her children's education, and even mentioned a possible loan to help her with her bills. At first, Emma was skeptical, unsure if she could trust a man like Adam, especially someone who came from a world so far removed from hers. But there was something about his sincerity, his determination to help, that made her second-guess her pride. As Emma started working at Adam's company, she found herself immersed in a world of luxury and privilege. Yet through it all, she kept a distance. She was thankful for the opportunity, but she couldn't shake the feeling that she didn't belong. What she didn't know was that Adam was also quietly impressed by her. He noticed the way she interacted with people, her humility despite the sudden wealth she had access to, and her commitment to her children over time. Emma and Adam began to form an unlikely friendship, which only deepened what neither of them expected was how their connection would evolve. And in the midst of all the chaos of a powerful family, secrets, Emma's struggles and Adam's hidden emotions, neither of them anticipated that their relationship would go far beyond just gratitude. It wasn't long before the line between gratitude and something deeper started to blur. Adam, the successful businessman with a cold and calculated exterior, found himself falling for the woman who had saved his son without hesitation. And Emma, the struggling mother, started to question if she could ever allow herself to embrace a life of luxury. But with their world so different and secrets still left, untold, their story had only just begun. As a millionaire, father stood before Lisa, gratitude shining in his eyes. She realized kindness had led her to an unexpected miracle, some acts of love. Chang lives forever. What would you do in her place if you enjoyed this heartwarming story? Subscribe for more inspiring tales.